folks, and let me just make sure this doesn't drop. This drops, I'm not going to be totally surprised, but hello everybody. Here for a Thursday. I was going to record yesterday, but so I'm going to do. So I'm going to do a video today, part 2 of the my thoughts and my views on the movie of Suzume. And I think in part 1, I think I covered events and stuff like that. I kind of don't want to spoil it too much, but I wanted to just give you guys a premise of what the movie is like. Basically, what Suzume does is she goes around and she goes to abandoned places. She goes to abandoned places and she basically finds these doors. And it's hilarious. And it's actually interesting that most of the places. Most of the places kind of represent, when the scene of the them defeating this, putting this worm, this big black and red worm into this portal. You notice it's always in an area where people either, it's the first couple places where they actually have it. So they have it at an onsen, and the next place they have it at a school, and the next place they have it is an abandoned amusement park. And it's actually interesting because they all kind of symbolize, different. They all symbolize different, different phases in, probably different phases in our lives, or and such like that. And I kind of find that kind of interesting that, each one of them. Kind of symbolizes, that sort of thing. And how not only that, but how fate can, fate in life, can ruin certain things when things get a little rocky and stuff like that, and tragedies do happen. So I think I left you guys off with her Suzume and Soda and catching Daijin at the amusement park that's abandoned. And when Suzume actually, or when I was talking about in the last one, Suzume actually almost goes into the portal and actually sees herself and her mother actually putting the chair together, I believe, and her giving Suzume the chair for her birthday, or something to remember her by, in her childhood memories and stuff like that. It was meant to be, the chair was meant to be a keepsake and kind of a symbol, in a way, of the connection between her mother and her mother's spirit, who has since passed, and stuff like that. And it's interesting that the Keystone is trying to keep the keystones that they're trying to go after, is trying to keep the little worm at bay, and that sort of thing. And we find out, we have, and then, she goes on Tamaki, her aunt, kind of finds her, and so does friend, and they go on a journey. I find it in Miyazaki's movies, not Miyazaki's, but Shinkai movies. There's always a journey somewhere, or somewhat, usually in a car or trains or something like that, because to get where they're going and stuff like that. So there's a car ride, and it's a long car ride, and um, they come up to Kyushu, where her mother and her used to live, and you discover that that her um, you discover in her childhood home that there's a um, you discover in her childhood home that there's actually a yeah, so you discover that her childhood home uh, is actually kind of one of the kind of a keepsake, and you kind of figure out that that her mother was a nurse. Well, you find out earlier that Suzume is trying to study and trying to get her read a bunch of books her nurse handbook and basics of nursing. She's trying to get into nursing school like her mother was, trying to follow in her mother's footsteps, and fortunately that gets cut short because she got killed in the 2011 Kyushu tsunami and earthquake, and it hit their town. So, and all that's left is kind of the foundation of um, kind of the foundation of the foundation of the and they find and then there's another wormhole, of course, and then they have to seal that, and then Tamaki's like, no, we're going back home and stuff like that. And stuff like that, and we're gonna do whatever. So one second, I'm just gonna pause this for a minute. Yeah, so and you find out that her mother, and it's kind of where the final confrontation of the movie goes, kind of comes into play. Um, kind of comes into play. So actually, along the way, when they actually find out that we actually find out why why her Tamaki is so overprotective, because they get into a big argument at a rest stop, and it seems that it actually finds out. I thought that her mother was. I thought her aunt was getting possessed by an evil spirit, making sure make sure a hidden evil spirit wasn't trying to stop doing it. Daijin, so Sadajin, and so she turns out to be Sadajin, which is the Eastern Keystone, and um, and they actually are going to they actually go to to her house. I mean, her house and her rooms and stuff like that. And we learned the backstory about how her mother passed away, and how the earthquake affected them, how their home got destroyed. Um, I don't know what it is, and it hits you, and you just think she was missing her mother because of um, maybe she died in something, but they seem to want to bring the characters the main character back to the site of why the reason why the movie was kind of there. They kind of well, Brother and Your Dude doesn't do it, but Your Name does. Taki, it kind of hits you, and you look at the area around the town where she used to live, and it just hits you how devastating. Um, how devastating, natural disasters and earthquakes can be, because the whole movie is about earthquakes. So the movie kind of implies that the worm caused the tsunamis and the natural disasters and the earthquakes that killed her mother. So basically, so I think it was, and it's interesting how when they seal the thing away, that there's a lot of rain and there's a big, huge, massive rainstorm and stuff like that. So, and how there's a lot of water around some of the areas that, and doesn't look like it's rained or anything. So, so we get to find that out. I'm not really going to spoil what happens. You guys are going to have to watch the movie for yourselves. I'm just going to give you guys kind of my overlay and her story. You guys are going to have to, since you guys didn't watch it, I'm just trying to give you guys just an idea of what this movie is like. And when you come upon her house, you're like, darn. So, and you kind of feel how, how it wasn't easy for her to raise her on a school teacher's budget, to and stuff like that. It was. And during the argument, it was kind of hard because it was kind of hard for her. But she says, "Yeah, I took you in, and it took me. I had to pass up dates, and I had to pass up this. I had to pass up getting married because I had to make sure you were taught very well. Yada yada yada." And because you don't expect tragedy to happen, and then. It kind of hits you why, it was, and then when you see the destruction, you see all that happening, it kind of hits you why at the beginning of the film that she's searching for her mom, she's asking, Mom, where are you, and stuff like that, because, it kind of symbolizes, I'm going to go into symbology actually a little bit, kind of symbolizes how kids don't understand, loss, because they're not used to it. They just think, they don't know what dying is, and they don't know what tragedy is and stuff like that. She was in the wrong place in the wrong time, and so yeah, I didn't want to bang on too long because I didn't want you guys. I don't want to reveal the movie, but it's one of those movies that you're very intrigued. It really gets you. It really gets you into the. It really gets you into the story. Like they have a plot line. They have a protagonist, and then they have a male protagonist and a female protagonist, and and they have to go on an adventure, and they have to find out the cause of certain problems, and oh yes, and by the way, when they're in Tokyo, they kind of imply that the Kanto fire in Tokyo in 1923 was they found out that the fire and the earthquake was kind of started by the so they're implying that this was kind of the reason why there were so many problems, and it's not uncommon for Japan to have earthquakes because they're right near a fault line, so it's right in there, but there's always something behind there causing trouble and stuff like that. Um, I did like the movie's plot. Um, Movie's plot and stuff like that. It had a good story. The characters were believable, and it followed the studio's typical um, typical typical storyline, and it's kind of its thing. It's kind of like how Miyazaki does his. There's always a setup. There's always a certain formula that film series have, and the critics. I was reading some of the critics, and they were saying, "Oh yeah, it's repetitive it follows the same style of storyline and stuff like that." Cinema has kind of it's not as repetitive and as different as some cinema series, and and there's a certain formula that these films go by in order to be um, successful, and the way how Shinkai, what Shinkai will do is they teach you lessons of about life and um, you know how tragedies and stuff like that, the discovering life, and some through symbology and stuff like that. They fit a certain. It's good that they have a certain pattern. Now he's only made 3 films, so will he make more? He's younger, so he may. Um, I don't know if he's gonna go on the same run Miyazaki did, but he's in his 50s, so he was around the same age when Miyazaki started. So around the same age when Miyazaki started, I believe. Yeah, because Miyazaki-san, Mr. Miyazaki. Hayao, Miyazaki. Hayao Miyazaki. Yep. He was born in 1941 in Tokyo City, Empire, Japan. Um, yeah, so he was. I just to let you know, Miyazaki was with Toei Animation, my favorite animation studio, and he's been doing Studio Ghibli since 1985, even though the movies were in 1984. So he did. So he did the movies when he was 43. He's about 50 years old. He was born in 1973, so he did 1973. Well, he did his first movie in 2016, which was Your Name, 1973. Wow, you guys wouldn't believe this. But he did his first movie at 43, same as Miyazaki. So maybe he is the new Miyazaki. We never know. We don't know. Miyazaki is probably going to pump out a few more until he's about 100. Probably. And his son's probably going to help. His burn Garo is probably going to help out quite a bit too. But I think it's going to take a while for his style to do it. I think it's a little too early to judge his style. That's like saying the James Bond movies aren't spy movies without, the James Bond series has its own setup. Obviously, the plot's different. Obviously, the plot's different. The villains are different. The story's different. And there's a bunch of changes. but it's typical. But each director, each story maker sets their own thing. Ian Fleming wanted to make a secret agent, old school. You know, he was a drinker, smoker. He drove fast cars. He went on missions to faraway places. He met tons of people, and he receives his mission, goes out to the place, meets a hot girl, has to save her a bunch of times, gets caught, and then eventually he has to regroup, goes back, fights the villain, defeats them, and saves the day and gets home. Gets to go home back to Britain, and has the girl in his arm. Girl wrapped in his arm, presumably go back to England to go to bed. But and have some extra curricular activities and some extracurricular activities off service that aren't service related, but you know, it's the way how it is. So I do recommend it, although I'm going to probably do I'm gonna kind of and stuff like that. I definitely think that the movie was the right length. It definitely had the right story. I definitely thought it was a nice variation over Your Name, because Your Name kind of Your Name kind of gives you a precursor of what the tragedy was like, what tragedy befell Mitsuha and her family, but you don't learn. It definitely doesn't. I mean, you just think in Your Name the meteor shower, it's just a regular meteor shower, but it hits you hard like a ton of bricks when you see what Taki comes upon the truth of why the events of the story happen, and it kind of you just think, oh, maybe she was an orphan, maybe maybe there was a tragedy, but they slowly give you ideas of and hints of what's going on. So you kind of, and through symbolism, you kind of figure it out. I'll kind of go into it a little bit, right? Go into it when I to it a little bit. You know, if you watch the movie and stuff like that, pick up on little things, like you'll notice the elements and certain things that there's certain things that kind of point you towards kind of symbolize you, kind of give you an idea of kind of symbolize what happened in Suzume's life to lead to this, and you know how it is, because with most of Shinkai's protagonists, it's implied that a parent's gone, or they leave or something like that, but they never. It's kind of shrouded in darkness a little bit until later on, and then it's, as I said, it kind of hits you like a ton of bricks when it happens. For those of you who haven't seen Your Name, I recommend seeing it, because there's a couple of scenes where there's a couple of scenes where you really do need to clean up tissue, where you do need a pack of tissues, because it does hit you like a ton of bricks when you kind of figure it out. This movie gives you hints and stuff like that, but most people who watch it for the first time won't pick it up. I did, because I kind of know what to look for since I watch other media. So, but I'll go more into it on Saturday. Actually, I'm gonna finish this tomorrow. Actually, Saturday will be a gear change show. I'll go into this a little bit tomorrow on the symbolism and how, you kind of figure out just what happens, and the realization when certain plot lines happen. So, and certain um, scenes in the movie kind of represent and stuff like that. I'll go into that into a little bit more detail, and then you guys can see um, if you guys see the movies for yourself, you guys can figure that out. So yeah, so this is my thoughts, my deep thoughts, and kind of my take on, the second part of what happens in, and how symbology and how symbolism kind of figures it out. I'm gonna have to obviously look up, because the movie's been out for almost about November, December, January. Yeah, it's been out, actually. Has it been out since November? It's been November, December, January. No, it's been out longer than that. I think it's been out since the summer. So it's been out since the summer, and I think it's been out for about 6-7 months now. So I'll look up other symbology and just make sure I have everything accurate. But I do implore you, watch the movie. It's a really good one. No one's probably going to find these videos till a little bit later, but for those of you who are kind of want my take on it, and I will put a warning on my channel to tell you that, yeah, don't watch this. If I may put in the description, or I may put spoilers. I may put, my thoughts on Suzume spoilers. Don't watch it if you haven't watched it. So so yeah, I will see you guys then, and I will see you guys for part 3 tomorrow, and I will tell you the symbolism of the movie, and you guys will have a better understanding of what you're watching, at least, because it can be a blur if you don't if you take your eyes off the ball for a couple of minutes. So I will just leave you the video on tomorrow will probably be the same length. I'm not going to beat around the bush about symbology for 40 minutes. Probably going to be 35 minutes, but symbology of the movie. But there's a lot of in it, and I will tell you what I think. So I'll see you guys later. Peace.